The star-mapping ship floated silently through space, its sensors scanning the endless darkness. Inside, 4 blue-skinned aliens sat at their stations, their large eyes barely blinking as they watched their screens. It was supposed to be another boring day of routine work, but that changed when the youngest crew member spotted something unusual on his screen. "Elder Glass, you need to see this," he called out, his voice shaking slightly. The ship's senior scientist walked over, his long robes floating in the low gravity. As soon as he saw the readings, his inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of extreme surprise among his people. The scanners had found a planet that shouldn't exist. More specifically, they had found a planet that shouldn't have any life on it. But it did. In fact, it had billions of living beings on its surface, including a species that had built cities, launched satellites, and was using technology that could one day lead them to the stars. "This can't be right," Elder Glass muttered, his fingers dancing across the control panel. "Run the tests again." They ran the tests 5 more times. The results were always the same. The planet, which the locals called Earth, was a Class 12 death world. Its gravity was crushing. Its temperature swings were extreme. Its atmosphere was thick with oxygen, and its surface was constantly shifting due to something called plate tectonics. By all normal standards, it should have been impossible for intelligent life to develop there. Yet it had. The news spread quickly through the Galactic Council. Emergency meetings were called. Scientists argued with politicians. Military leaders drew up defense plans. Everyone was worried about the same thing. What kind of creatures could evolve on such a terrible world? And what would they do when they discovered they weren't alone in the universe? Dr. Reed didn't know any of this was happening as he walked his dog in the park. He was just a normal human scientist who studied animals from different parts of Earth. He had no idea that dozens of alien cameras were watching him right now, their operators amazed that he could walk so easily in Earth's heavy gravity. "Look at how casually it moves," one alien observer whispered to another. "And that smaller creature with it, it's running in this gravity." The council spent 3 months studying Earth before they made their decision. They needed to make contact before humans developed space travel on their own. It would be safer to guide them into the galactic community slowly than to have them burst onto the scene by themselves. They chose Dr. Reed as their first contact because he seemed calm and smart. They watched him work with dangerous Earth animals without showing fear. They saw how he taught his students with patience. He seemed like someone who could handle meeting aliens without panicking. The day they contacted him, Dr. Reed was working late in his office. A soft blue light filled the room, and a gentle voice spoke in perfect English. "Please do not be alarmed. We come in peace and wish to talk." To their surprise, Dr. Reed didn't scream or run away. He just looked up from his work, blinked a few times, and said, "Well, this is interesting." The aliens hadn't known it then, but this calm reaction to shocking situations was typical of humans, who dealt with surprising things all the time on their dangerous world. The first meeting lasted 6 hours. Dr. Reed asked intelligent questions and explained human society as best he could. The aliens were shocked when he offered them coffee, not knowing that humans regularly drank what would be deadly poison to most galactic species. "You consume this stimulant for pleasure?" the alien diplomat asked, looking horrified at the coffee cup. "And sometimes just to wake up in the morning," Dr. Reed replied with a smile. That was the moment the aliens realized just how different humans were. On their worlds, consuming any substance that altered body chemistry was unthinkable. Yet here was this human, casually drinking poison as if it was nothing. The meeting ended with a plan to introduce humanity to the wider galaxy slowly. But as the aliens left Earth that day, they were already wondering if they had made the right choice. They had just made contact with creatures who had evolved on a world that should have killed them, who drank poison for fun, and who seemed to take the existence of aliens in stride. The galaxy was about to change forever, and nobody, human or alien, was truly ready for what would come next. The huge silver spaceship landed in the middle of Central Park on a sunny morning. News cameras from every country pointed at it as Ambassador Trill and his team took their first steps onto Earth. They wore special suits to help them handle Earth's gravity, making them look like puffy silver balloons walking down the ship's ramp. Dr. Reed stood with the welcome team, trying not to smile at how carefully the aliens were walking. To them, every step was like lifting heavy weights. Earth's gravity was 3 times stronger than what they were used to, and they had spent weeks practicing just to walk in it. The first funny moment happened when a squirrel ran past the aliens. Ambassador Trill's security team jumped back in terror, pointing their scanners at it. A wild creature. In the middle of your gathering place. One of them shouted. "That's just a squirrel," Dr. Reed explained. "They live in the park. They're harmless. You allow predatory creatures to roam freely in your cities?" Ambassador Trill asked, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "They're not predators. They eat nuts," Dr. Reed said, but this only confused the aliens more. On their worlds, all animals were carefully controlled and kept away from cities. Things got even more interesting at the welcome dinner. The aliens watched in horror as humans casually ate plants that came from the ground and meat from animals. On their worlds, all food was created in clean laboratories. The idea of eating things that grew in dirt or came from actual creatures seemed primitive and dangerous to them. Then someone offered Ambassador Trill a plate of mild chicken curry. "What is this sensation?" he asked after one tiny taste, his face changing colors. "My mouth. It burns. Is this a weapon?" "That's just spice," Dr. Reed explained quickly. "We add it to food to make it taste better." "You deliberately make your food painful?" another alien asked, looking shocked. "For enjoyment." The meeting almost ended early when a small earthquake shook the building. It was just a tiny tremor, barely enough to rattle the windows, but the alien delegation panicked. While they huddled under tables, they watched in amazement as the humans calmly continued eating and talking. "Don't worry," one human official said, still sipping his coffee. "That was just a small one. Happens all the time." "You mean your planet regularly tries to shake you off its surface, and you consider this normal?" Ambassador Trill asked from under the table. But the biggest surprise came when the aliens learned about human sports. They watched videos of people running marathons, playing football, and climbing mountains. Each new activity made them more amazed and worried. "You run for 26 miles. For fun?" one alien scientist asked. "Some people run even longer distances," Dr. Reed said. "And these people, they climb frozen mountains." "Yes, because they're there. And these others hit each other on purpose while chasing a ball. That's football. It's very popular." Ambassador Trill took Dr. Reed aside after watching these videos. "We knew humans were different," he said quietly, "but we didn't understand how different. Your people do things for fun that would kill most species. You live in a world that should be impossible to live in. You eat things that should poison you. And you seem to enjoy all of it." Dr. Reed thought about this for a moment. "Maybe that's why we survive," he said. "We don't just live in dangerous conditions, we learn to have fun with them. We take what should kill us and turn it into entertainment." As the first day of contact ended, the alien delegation returned to their ship to rest and report back to the Galactic Council. They had learned many things about humans, but one thing was clear. These creatures were either the most amazing or the most terrifying species they had ever met. Perhaps they were both. That night, as Ambassador Trill wrote his report, a loud boom of thunder made him jump. Looking out his ship's window, he watched humans walking through the rain without concern, some even without umbrellas. On his world, such storms would send everyone into shelters. But here, it was just another normal day on this strange, impossible world called Earth. 6 months after first contact, Earth joined the Galactic Council as a trial member. Nobody expected what happened next at the Galactic Olympics on planet Light, a world with gravity only half as strong as Earth's. The human athletes arrived wearing special suits to help them adjust to the low gravity. When they took them off for the games, everything changed. In the running events, they had to rebuild 3 finish lines because the humans kept crashing through them, bouncing too high in the low gravity. The alien audience watched in shock as human runners practically flew across the field. "This isn't fair," shouted one alien coach after the humans won their 10th gold medal. "They're using their Deathworld strength." "That's just how we are," said Tom, one of the human runners, as he helped fix the broken finish line. He didn't mention that he was just a high school running coach on Earth, not even a professional athlete. But the real changes came when humans joined the Galactic Peace Force. Captain Marcus stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Star Jumper, looking at his mixed crew. He had aliens from 12 different worlds working with him, and most of them still looked nervous around the humans. "Captain," his alien first officer said one day, "why do you always want to do things the hard way?" They were planning a rescue mission to a crashed ship. The other alien captains wanted to wait for the rescue robots to arrive. Marcus wanted to go in person. "Because sometimes the hard way is the only way that works," Marcus answered. He didn't tell them that on Earth, most rescue workers insisted on going in person. Robots were nice, but nothing beat human instinct and adaptability. The rescue mission proved him right. When they reached the crashed ship, they found its systems damaged by radiation. The rescue robots would have failed, but Marcus and his human team managed to improvise repairs using parts from their suits. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans worked in conditions that should have killed them. "How did you know that would work?" an alien engineer asked after they saved the crashed ship's crew. "We didn't," Marcus said with a shrug. "We just tried something and adapted when it didn't work the first time." The council members watched all of this with growing interest. They had expected humans to struggle with galactic technology and customs. Instead, humans were changing how things worked. They didn't follow the standard procedures. They tried new things. They made mistakes but learned from them quickly. In the Galactic Peace Force Academy, human cadets were setting new records. They could train longer, carry heavier gear, and survive harsher conditions than any other species. More importantly, they taught others how to be tougher. "Don't think about the gravity," a human instructor told his alien students during survival training. "Think about moving forward, one step at a time. Your body is stronger than you think." Some alien parents started sending their children to Earth for short stays, believing that spending time in Earth's harsh conditions would make them stronger. They were right. After just a few months on Earth, the young aliens could handle tougher conditions on their own worlds. Dr. Reed, now working as Earth's main representative to the Council, watched all this with pride. "We're not just showing them our strength," he told Captain Marcus during a meeting. "We're showing them their own strength too." The trial period was supposed to last 5 years, but after just 1 year, many Council members wanted to make Earth a full member. Humans had already changed the galaxy more than anyone expected. Their ships were tougher, their equipment more durable, and their methods more effective. But not everyone was happy about these changes. Some older council members worried that humans were changing things too fast. They didn't like how humans ignored traditions and made their own rules. "These Deathworlders are too unpredictable," one council member complained during a private meeting. "They don't follow proper procedures." "No," another member replied, watching a video of human rescue workers saving people from a space station fire. "They do what works. Maybe that's what we need." None of them knew that their argument wouldn't matter soon. A new threat was coming, one that would make everyone grateful for humanity's Deathworld strength and strange ways of thinking. The warning came from a small outpost at the edge of Council space. Their message was short: "They're coming." Then silence. 3 Council ships went to check. None came back. Captain Marcus and the Star Jumper were the closest ship when the 4th distress call came. Unlike the others, he didn't follow standard procedure. Growing up on Earth had taught him that sometimes you had to break rules to stay alive. "Full speed ahead," he ordered, but kept his ship dark, running silent like a submarine in space. His alien crew trusted him now, even when his orders seemed strange. The sight that greeted them was terrifying. A massive black ship, shaped like a twisted spider web, was attacking another council vessel. The strange ship seemed to absorb energy weapons like they were nothing. "Those are Void Hunters," Marcus's science officer whispered, her colors fading in fear. "They're supposed to be just stories, monsters from the dark space between galaxies." But they weren't stories. They were real, and they were hungry. The Void Hunters didn't want to talk or trade. They wanted to feed, treating other species like humans treated cattle. Marcus watched as standard council weapons bounced off the Void Hunter ship. The aliens had evolved in dark space, where radiation and cold would kill most life. Their ships were nearly impossible to damage. Nearly impossible wasn't the same as impossible, though. And humans knew a lot about doing impossible things. "Look at their ship's movement," Marcus said to his crew. "They're not used to gravity. They evolved in space. Gravity is their weakness, just like it was our strength." He ordered his engineer to modify their gravity generators, something no other captain would think to do. On most worlds, changing gravity was forbidden. But humans came from a world where gravity was already a killer. They had learned to use it. The Star Jumper dove straight at the Void Hunter ship. At the last second, they fired their modified gravity weapons. The enemy ship twisted like a crushed soda can as artificial gravity crushed one side while stretching the other. "How did you know that would work?" his first officer asked after they rescued the surviving council ship. "I didn't," Marcus admitted. "But on Earth, we learn early that if something's trying to kill you, you use anything you can to survive." The news of the Void Hunters spread fast. More of their ships appeared, attacking council worlds. Regular council forces couldn't stop them. Their weapons were useless, their tactics failed, and their defenses fell. But the humans, the Void Hunters, couldn't figure out how to fight humans. When a Void Hunter ship attacked a human colony, they found the colonists had already dug in like their ancestors did in old Earth wars. The aliens couldn't handle the rough terrain and traps. When they tried to take over a space station, the human workers sealed parts of the station and changed the air pressure and gravity in different sections. The Void Hunters, used to the constant conditions of space, got confused and sick. "These Deathworlders are insane," a captured Void Hunter told its interrogators. "They use the very things that should kill them as weapons. How do you fight someone who turns death into a tool?" The council finally understood why humans were so different. Other species evolved to avoid danger. Humans evolved to face it, survive it, and even use it. The council had thought Earth was too dangerous for intelligent life. They were wrong. Earth was dangerous enough to create exactly what the galaxy needed. Dr. Reed explained it to the council during an emergency meeting. "You see gravity as an enemy to be avoided. We see it as a tool. You see radiation as death. We learn to use it for medicine. You hide from storms. We chase them to study them. We don't just survive dangerous things. We learn from them." The council voted that day to give humans full emergency powers to fight the Void Hunters. Some members worried that humans might be too aggressive, too willing to take risks. But as one council member said, "When death itself comes hunting, who better to fight it than those who made death's home their own?" As Captain Marcus prepared the first human-led defense fleet, he looked at the reports of Void Hunter movements. They were following patterns, being careful, doing things the right way. He smiled. The Void Hunters were about to learn why that was a mistake when fighting humans. The training room on the Galactic Defense Station looked more like an Earth military boot camp than a space facility. Alien soldiers crawled through mud under simulated rain, while human instructors shouted encouragement. Some council members watching through the windows looked horrified, but they couldn't argue with the results. "Again," shouted the human instructor as an alien trainee failed to climb the gravity wall. "On Earth, my grandmother climbs harder walls than this for fun. You're stronger than you think." The alien tried again, this time making it to the top. His whole team cheered. 3 months ago, none of them could even stand in Earth normal gravity. Now they were training in even higher gravity, preparing for combat against the Void Hunters. In another part of the station, Dr. Reed worked with alien scientists, teaching them how humans protected themselves against harsh environments. He had brought simple things from Earth: motorcycle armor, firefighter suits, mountain climbing gear. The aliens were amazed by how humans had turned protection into something light and flexible. Your species had to solve these problems centuries ago, one alien scientist said while studying a firefighter's breathing mask. We never needed to because we avoided dangerous places. Now we're learning centuries of survival knowledge in weeks. Captain Marcus's tactics were spreading through the defense fleet. Other ships started copying the Star Jumper's tricks. They used gravity like a weapon, heat like a shield, and radiation like a tool. The Void Hunters, who had expected easy prey, found themselves facing enemies who fought like forces of nature. Humans don't just fight, an alien commander observed during a battle planning session. They turned everything around them into a weapon. Even empty space becomes dangerous when they're done with it. Stories about human bravery and cleverness spread across the galaxy. There was the space station crew who saved themselves by turning their whole station into a giant electromagnet, trapping a Void Hunter ship. The human miners who used their drilling equipment to cut through a Void Hunter ship's hull. The Earth farmers who modified their weather control devices to create storms in space. But the greatest change came in how other species saw themselves. Watching humans overcome impossible odds made them realize they could do the same. Species that had always been careful and cautious began taking risks, trying new things, pushing their limits. A group of aliens who had trained on Earth proved this during a crucial battle. Their ship was damaged, their weapons were down, and they faced 2 Void Hunter vessels. Instead of surrendering, they remembered their training. They used their ship's artificial gravity to slingshot debris at the enemy, just like humans used rocks in ancient battles. They won. We learned more than just fighting from the humans, their captain said later. We learned that being dangerous isn't the same as being evil. Sometimes you need to be a little dangerous to protect others. Dr. Reed was called to speak to the council again. This time, they weren't afraid of him. They wanted to learn. He showed them videos of Earth's history, how humans had survived ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and their own wars, how each disaster had made them stronger, smarter, more adaptable. You see that scar on Earth? He asked, pointing to a picture of the Grand Canyon. That's not a wound. That's a treasure. We study it to learn about our past. On Earth, even the marks left by disasters become valuable. The council made a historic decision. They appointed the first human, Captain Marcus, to lead the combined defense force. Some said it was too soon to put a human in charge. Others said it was too late. Humans were already leading, whether they had the title or not. Marcus's first order surprised everyone. He didn't ask for more weapons or ships. Instead, he asked for training centers to be built on Earth. Send us your people, he said to the council. Not just soldiers, send us everyone. Teachers, engineers, doctors, builders. On Earth, they'll learn what we learned, that surviving makes you stronger. The Void Hunters were still out there, still a terrible threat. But something had changed in the galaxy. Species that once feared Earth's harsh conditions now saw them as a source of strength. Young aliens bragged about training on humanity's death world. Earth's gravity, once seen as a curse, was now a mark of pride for those strong enough to endure it. And in dark space, the Void Hunters began to feel something new. Fear, because facing them was a galaxy learning to be more like humanity, tough, adaptable, and impossible to break. The Void Hunters launched their biggest attack exactly 1 year after their first appearance. 1,000 of their twisted ships emerged from dark space, heading straight for the most populated worlds in Council space. They expected to find the same weak, careful species they'd first encountered. Instead, they found something very different. Captain Marcus stood on the bridge of the Star Defender, Earth's largest space vessel ever built. Around him, humans and aliens worked together like they'd been doing it all their lives. His science officer, who once feared Earth's gravity, now wore weights during her shift to stay strong. His engineer, from a species that used to avoid all risks, was suggesting what most of his people would call a crazy plan. "We can turn the whole asteroid belt into a weapon," the engineer said, showing calculations on the main screen. A year ago, such a risky plan would have been rejected immediately. Now, the whole bridge crew was figuring out how to make it work. The first battle happened near the Jupiter colonies. The Void Hunters tried their usual tactics, appearing suddenly from dark space, using their energy-absorbing hulls to shrug off attacks. But this time, the defenders were ready. "Release the gravity anchors," Marcus ordered. Hundreds of small devices, built using Earth mining technology, activated at once. They created a web of artificial gravity fields, trapping the Void Hunter ships like flies in a spider's web. The hunters had become the hunted. But the Void Hunters were still deadly. They fought back with weapons that could tear ships apart at the atomic level. 3 defense ships were destroyed in the first hour. The asteroid belt plan had to work, or the whole system would fall. That's when Dr. Reed's new invention proved its worth. The protective suits he'd developed, based on simple Earth diving suits, let repair crews work in space, even with hull breaches nearby. While Void Hunter weapons destroyed ships, the crews survived and kept fighting. "We don't need to destroy them all," Marcus told his fleet. "We just need to hold them here long enough." The engineer's plan was crazy, beautiful, and very human. They had spent months placing gravity devices throughout the asteroid belt. Now they turned them all on at once, using the asteroids themselves as bullets in the biggest shotgun blast in history. The Void Hunters never saw it coming. Their ships could absorb energy weapons, but they couldn't stop thousands of rocks moving at high speed. Almost 200 enemy ships were destroyed in the first wave. "This is impossible," a Void Hunter commander transmitted before their ship was crushed. "You're breaking the laws of physics." "No," Marcus replied. "We're just using them creatively." But the battle wasn't over. The remaining Void Hunters regrouped and attacked again, this time targeting the gravity devices controlling the asteroid belt. They were learning, adapting, just like humans would. That's when the second part of the plan came into action. From Mars, Mercury, and the moons of Jupiter, ships appeared. But these weren't regular warships. They were Earth's mining vessels, construction ships, and space station tugs, all modified for war. The Void Hunters laughed at these civilian ships until they saw what they could do. Mining lasers, designed to cut through asteroids, sliced through their hulls. Construction manipulator arms grabbed their ships and crushed them. Cargo haulers released clouds of industrial diamonds, turning space itself into a grinding machine. "This is how humans have always survived," Dr. Reed explained to the Council as they watched the battle. "We turn our tools into weapons when we need to, then turn them back into tools when the danger is past." The battle raged for 3 days. The defenders lost many ships and brave crews, but they didn't break. They fought with everything they had, using every trick, tool, and tactic they could think of. The Void Hunters, who had always relied on being stronger and tougher than their prey, didn't know how to handle enemies who just wouldn't give up. Finally, after the asteroid belt was half empty and dozens of ships on both sides were destroyed, the remaining Void Hunters retreated. They had lost over half their fleet to beings they had thought were easy prey. As the dust settled, Captain Marcus received messages from across the galaxy. Other battles had been fought, other victories won. Species that had once feared conflict had found their strength. The galaxy had changed. "Send teams to recover every piece of Void Hunter technology we can find," he ordered. "If they come back, we'll be ready. And next time, we'll have even more surprises for them." The cleanup would take months, but that was fine. Humans were good at rebuilding too. and they had taught the rest of the galaxy how to do the same. 5 years after the Great Battle, Earth had changed. Alien buildings now stood next to human cities, their strange shapes designed to handle Earth's gravity. The streets were full of visitors from across the galaxy, many wearing special suits to help them cope with the conditions. Earth had become the place where species came to become stronger. Dr. Reed walked through his new training center, watching alien children playing in Earth's gravity. They were using the playground equipment just like human kids, climbing and jumping without fear. Their parents, who once would have been terrified, now watched proudly as their children grew stronger. "Remember when they used to call Earth the Death World?" he asked Captain Marcus, who was visiting between fleet patrols. "Now they call it the Crucible," Marcus replied, watching a group of alien teenagers playing basketball with human students, "a place where you go in weak and come out strong." The Galactic Council had changed too. Their main military academy was now on Earth, in the Rocky Mountains. The reasoning was simple. If you could fight in Earth's gravity and weather, you could fight anywhere. The obstacle course included everything from climbing cliffs to swimming in rough seas. "Your world tries to kill us every day," an alien cadet told their human instructor. "But each day we survive, we get better." Even the way ships were built had changed. Every new vessel now had Earth-level gravity sections for training. Ships that once would have been considered too fragile were now built to human standards of toughness. The Void Hunter's last attack had taught everyone the value of being ready for anything. Ambassador Trill, who had once been terrified of Earth's conditions, now lived permanently in New York. He still needed his gravity suit, but he wore it like a badge of honor. When new alien diplomats arrived, nervous about Earth's conditions, he would take them to his favorite coffee shop. "Try it," he would tell them, offering them their first cup of coffee. "If you can handle Earth drinks, you can handle anything." The greatest change was in how the galaxy saw humans. They were no longer viewed as scary Deathworlders or strange savages. Now they were teachers, showing others how to find strength they never knew they had. Every major project in Council space now had human advisors, not because they were ordered to, but because humans were good at solving problems in unexpected ways. One day, a signal came from dark space. The Void Hunters had sent a message. They wanted to talk. The Council was surprised, but the humans weren't. They had studied Earth's history, where enemies often became allies after learning to respect each other. The meeting took place on Earth, of course. The Void Hunter representatives had to wear special suits, just like everyone else. They looked around nervously at the planet they had once dismissed as a primitive death world. "We have fought many species," the Void Hunter leader said, "but never ones who turned our own strength against us. Never ones who treated our deadliest weapons as a challenge to overcome. We offer peace and ask to learn." That was how Earth gained its strangest students yet. Void Hunters began training alongside the very species they had once hunted. They learned that strength wasn't just about being tough. It was about adapting, working together, and turning weaknesses into advantages. Dr. Reed retired that year, but his work continued. The training center he had built became the first of many. Every continent on Earth now had facilities where different species learned from each other. The humans taught about survival and adaptation, while other species shared their own knowledge. "We were wrong about humans," a council member said during the 10th anniversary of First Contact. "We thought their world had made them too dangerous. Instead, it made them exactly what the galaxy needed, creatures who could take any challenge and turn it into an opportunity." Captain Marcus, now Admiral Marcus, stood on Earth's new space elevator, looking out at the planet below. Ships from across the galaxy docked at the station, bringing new visitors, students, and allies. Earth's gravity well, once seen as a barrier, had become the galaxy's greatest training ground. "Not bad for a death world," he said, sipping his coffee and watching a group of alien children excitedly preparing for their first trip down to Earth's surface. They weren't afraid like their parents had been years ago. They were eager to prove themselves on humanity's world. Earth had become more than just another planet in the Council. It was a symbol of what was possible when you faced your fears and overcame them. The place where the galaxy's inhabitants came to discover their own strength. A world that had once been avoided was now the heart of a stronger, more united galaxy. And somewhere out in space, new challenges waited. But now, thanks to the lessons learned on this little death world, the galaxy was ready for them.